If you're not a fan of us talking lovingly about movies, just turn it off.
Sorry.
Just turn it off. Click that like or subscribe, and the support page, and just move on with your day.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Yeah.
Stand by, going to air.
Stand by, film.
5,
Stand by music.
4,
Stand by announce.
3, 2, 1.
And fade up.
Fish are friends, not food.
Make it Centauri time.
Too much iron in your blood.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
Hey, what happened?
Let's fly! Let's get pissed and watch boom.
Hello, you've got a base.
Are you saying there's something wrong with my gear?
We're going streaking!
He found me!
He's doing his Superman thing.
I still only counts as one.
Why is the rum always cold?
All right, well, welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of 20 Years, 4 Beers. We are a podcast dedicated to rewatching movies from at least 2 decades ago, while simultaneously enjoying a minimum of 4 modern beers. My name is Steve, and this is my big brother,
Tim.
And we are coming to you from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We have just watched and recorded our episode on the Laugh Riot Saving Private Ryan. Go check that one out. And as usual, we sit together afterwards and discuss another film over another beer, so we refer to these as our happy hour episodes.
Hey, you guys, happy hour is from 4 to 6.
In this happy hour, we will be discussing another film from 25 years ago, The Truman Show. The Truman Show follows Truman Burbank, a pretty normal man in his late 20s, with a wife, best friend, great job, and an overall great life. That would be true, except for one key thing. Truman is the unwitting main character in a reality show that is his entire life. Truman starts to suspect something is wrong, and very soon it becomes clear to him that the world around him is doing everything it can to keep him in his perfect existence. Working to free himself, Truman must overcome his fears and discover what is past the borders that have kept him locked in. The film is directed by Peter Weir, written by Andrew Niccol, and stars Jim Carrey as Truman, Ed Harris, Laura Linney, Noah Emmerich, Natasha McElhone, I don't even know.
Yeah, good.
She's Irish. McElhane. And Holland Taylor.
You're afraid. That's why you can't leave. It's okay, Truman. I understand. I have been watching you your whole life. I was watching when you were born. I was watching when you took your first step. I watched you on your first day of school. The episode when you lost your first tooth. You can't leave, Truman.
Please, God,
You belong here
you can do it.
with me. Talk to me. Say something. Say something, goddammit! You're on television! You're live to the whole world!
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Our first segment, as usual, is Drinking Buddies.
Come on, not my fucking beer.
Where we present the 4 beers that we had, 2 for each of us since we watched these separately, and another one that we're going to talk about now, and give our expert drinking ratings. Tim, why don't you take it away?
Recently, I was in Door County, Wisconsin. It was if you have a chance to get up there, enjoy it. It's beautiful, but brought back a few options here. One is from Bridge Up Brewing, their 1851 lager, and I must admit, I was like, okay, I'll watch Truman Show. A lager, sure. See where it goes.
Just wait.
It's really solid. It's a 4. For me,
wow.
I was like,
for a lager?
Yes.
Wow.
I was like, this is how lagers should be done. Because I find so many craft brewers are like, that's 2 lagers. And it's basically like, I don't need this crap. It's really tasty for the style. I was pleasantly surprised. So I started with that thinking like, I'll go see how it goes. Very happy brought that back. And then we had, I had, Three Sheeps Brewing Company, their offshore West Coast IPA. It's a 3.75, a nice IPA. I must say, for me, in my view, put like West Coast, I want a bit more bite and kind of bitterness to it. Not that I'm looking for like stone type of like brewing hop, like punching in the face, but I want more than just like a normal IPA. That's what it was for me. It's a nice IPA. I was hoping for more, but I enjoyed it. It was good to have with the movie. So, what'd you have?
Well, I too had technically a theme beer. Well, not really, but just sort of that. But I ended up with 3. So, first I joked about it a little bit off air, but somehow or another, the one benefit of updating our website.
Yeah.
Side note, 20years4beers.com. Go check it out. Looks really good.
Thank you.
Is that I start to realize that there are beers that we haven't had. You're kind of like, oh, wait. We haven't had this? And kind of 2 of them here tonight. But the first was I had the delicious IPA by Stone Brewing out of San Diego, which we had not covered.
Nope.
And again, you know it's good. It's so
tasty.
Delicious.
Yep.
It is just wonderful.
Yep.
I have a 4 out of 5 because any of those IPAs, like whether it be 300 is more than that, but whether it be like standard IPAs in the area, you're like, oh, this is just wonderful.
Yep.
It's got a nice light tone. Like it's a summer IPA. You can definitely drink it.
Yep. Very good.
I had a plan going into this one from a theme beer standpoint. To your time, you're talking about the lager.
Yep.
I wanted to crack a beer at the same time that Truman and Marlon have a beer. And it's not the same beer. That's not Penn's Pavel or whatever, Pavel Penn's beer that they have.
That's a beer.
Yeah. So I decided to go to the land of the sky blue waters and pop open a Hamm's lager.
Oh, nice.
And I'll tell you, man, you gotta enjoy a Hamm's, right? I mean, now I had to get a 40 or whatever because I wasn't gonna buy a 6er of that. Give me a break. So I had to buy it for $1.99 at France 44th. You're welcome.
For a 40?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or whatever the tall cans are. So it's
Bomber,
not 40, but the bombers.
Yeah.
So I had probably about half of it, but I drank it along with Truman and Marlon, and I was like, oh yeah. And that's a basic bitch beer.
Oh my God.
So I had that as much as I could, and then I went to my actual second beer, which another one that I was a little surprised we hadn't had, which was the Double Two Hearted IPA.
Oh yeah,
the double IPA from Bell's Brewing out of Michigan. That's a great double IPA.
It's in my fridge right now. So
good. It's 4.25 out of 5 on that one.
Love it. And then tonight we are having.
Can't believe I hadn't had Hamm's, by the way. Just so side note, I had not had Hamm's since when your friend Nate or our friend Nate had a show in St. Paul at Al's bar over by where the Allianz Field is now or whatever.
Yep.
That's the last time I had Hamm's, so X amount of 15 years ago or whatever. Yep.
Long ago, I was a bartender and had...
At Outback Steakhouse?
That's right. And had never heard of Hamm's before.
Yeah.
And thought a customer was ordering Sam's. I'm like, oh, like they're like lager? He's like, I guess. I was like, wait, I'm sorry. What did you order? Hamm's.
Yeah.
Let me check on that. And I went to ask like the manager, like, what the hell is he talking about? He's like, no, we don't sell Hamm's. And I'm like, what is it? He's like, you don't know this? I'm like, so yeah, it was like a whole thing. But I'm like, no, sorry, we don't have.
It has such a negative stigma to it.
Well, it's like,
but it's
not
totally
a restaurant.
Like any of these other lagers that have been around, that were around forever through the first part of the 20th century.
They were, yeah. I agree. It's not bad.
No, it was totally fine.
Yes, it's good.
My beer snobbery is breaking away.
Keeping on my, at least, Wisconsin theme, at a Superior, Wisconsin, Earth Rider, which I don't know that we've had anything from them, but maybe. Earth Rider Brewing out of...
Check the newly updated website, 20yearsforbeers.com.
Their Cloud Top Hazy IPA. And I like this. It's nice. It's solid. Probably like 3.75 for me. It's not some of the kind of better hazies where I feel like there's more kind of flavor profile. It's just, super agreeable.
It doesn't taste too much like a hazy to me.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sweeter IPA to it. It's good though. Yeah, 3.75 for me as well.
It's quite enjoyable.
Cool. So our next segment is the social network.
If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
Where Tim basically takes a look back at the critical and fan reception from 25 years ago. Tim is nice enough to research these, so please take it away.
The IMDb rating is 8.2 out of 10, which is one of our highest that we've had. Rita Kempley of Washington Post said, one of the smartest, most inventive movies in memory. The Truman Show manages to be as endearing as it is provocative. Adam Smith of Empire Magazine said, a movie with wit as well as ideas. The Truman Show is an all-out attack on the media's need to control, package, and present real life as reality. Roger Ebert, care to guess what he gave it?
3.5.
4.
Full on.
4 out of 4.
All right.
Full on. Said Carey is a surprisingly good choice to play Truman, and Harris finds the right notes as Christof, his world's creator. The trajectory of the screenplay is more or less inevitable. Truman must gradually realize the truth of his confined environment and try to escape from it. Yet the underlying ideas made The Truman Show more than just entertainment, and it brings into focus the new values that technology is forcing on humanity right now. Simply because we can telecast real life, must we? Are these good things to do? If celebrities are now content, quote unquote, to be consumed, and with television's insatiable hunger for material, how much of the film's drama and comedy can really be viewed as an exaggeration? Right? Like sometimes I'm like, all right, dude, you did pretty well.
Before you hop into the Oscars part, I will say one thing that cracks me up about going 25 versus 20 years back, and even 20 years back, the perspective of reviewers is interesting. We'll get into this a little bit with Truman Show.
Yeah.
At no point when I was 16 or you were 18 did I see the writing on the wall back then of what they're talking about.
No.
The reality versus celebrity and this kind of thing. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm watching football and hanging out in high school. Or like, I did not get the context of this movie until later on.
Absolutely.
So good for them.
Yes, they had the insight. Academy Awards that year were up for 3 nominations.
Just 3.
I know. Original screenplay for Andrew Niccol, director Peter Weir, and supporting actor Ed Harris. Nothing for
no wins.
Carey. No wins.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Well, with the beers and reviews out of the way, that brings us to Spotlight.
They knew, and they let it happen.
Our reaction segment where we highlight and discuss our top takeaways of any kind from rewatching the film. If you're not a fan of us talking lovingly about movies, just turn it off.
Sorry.
Just turn it off. Click that like or subscribe, and the support page, and just move on with your day.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Yeah. I had a lot of things written down for this especially in comparison to Saving Private Ryan, which was virtually nothing.
Yeah.
I think it was, I don't know. I don't know the last time I watched this from like a critical lens and kind of like trying to break it down.
Probably 10 years for me.
Oh, I've watched it in the last year or two. I'm saying, but like the last time I watched it I have no life, man. You got a wife and kids with stuff going on. I got weekends alone. What are you gonna do? I got to fill in the time.
Yeah.
But that being said, the primary thing I came out of this sort of more critical rewatch is the attention to detail in this film is breathtaking.
Yes.
We live in a world where Starbucks cups can make it in the Game of Thrones final season. Like
Yes.
there is, this is a perfect attention to detail example.
Yep.
From the opening credits choice, introducing the actors within the film and the characters they portray. So, for example, Louis Coltrane as Marlin instead of Noah Emmerich as Marlin. Then, moving on to the look of the town, the instrumental music always played on the radio to calm you down, quote unquote. The constant hints, both subtle and not so subtle, about everything outside is bad, but everything, misspelled, within is good. The internal ads by the actors, obstructed camera views, buttonhole cameras. The more remote, the harder the view is. Like the older styles of clothing, even like that sort of like everything had this
classic look.
Yes, everything about it. Even to what I never thought about was Truman and his wife. They can't be rich.
No.
Otherwise, they could just travel anywhere.
Yep.
They also can't be poor because you would want to move to go to better things. They had to be right in the sweet spot of sort of working and saving just a little bit, like just like feeling they were stuck there.
Yep.
But they don't say that that's what it is. The attention to detail is, I can't think of another example that hits on every level from beginning to end of even the extras while they're searching for Truman later on are all people that have been through this movie, like through the entire thing. And even the blatant butt shot by Peter Weir to have like Jim Carrey and his famous Ace Ventura talking out his butt, and he's like working in the garden, and then you just like put his butt right on my, like the attention to detail is unparalleled.
So what I thought about watching it again, I agree. I don't know that I could have appreciated. I know I didn't when I first saw it when it came out.
I know I loved it. I know where I saw it.
I was impressed.
I did not. Yeah,
I was always
Eden
impressed
Prairie East
with what they were trying to accomplish.
Yeah,
and what to me always stood out in terms of the attention to detail. To me equals control.
Yep,
is not, and
yeah,
thinking
can't control chaos
ahead of its time, all these things, like fine, but no more of like in 98 as they're trying to tell the story for this character growing up, from birth in these circumstances, everything would have to be controlled, and so there couldn't be any lack of attention to detail because that would create, you're right, a level of chaos that would slowly unravel everything, which is ultimately what does eventually happen. But
right, because they lose control over certain things.
Yes.
Yep.
But I always am struck by watching it again. And what's fantastic is you think about the detail is universal and nostalgic, where it's like it comes out in 98 and you can think about the grunge, and then think back to like the styles. I mean, we could look back at pictures and how terrible our clothing was in the 90s. Like, oh my gosh,
disagree. I don't know what you're talking about.
Flannel.
I showed you what I wore to that show, right?
Everywhere, exactly. You think about that wouldn't have been marketable from when Truman would have been born to when the movie came out. Even, not to like pigeonhole in the 90s, but in terms of that type of like Americana vibe had to be controlled. So I agree.
The movie came out in 1998, Tim. Pleasantville.
True. Exactly. Yes.
It's the exact same idea.
Yes.
Right
the
around
nostalgic,
this time, that nostalgia
yes.
of
That's
Nick at Night, Leave
yes.
It to Beaver, and like the perfection of,
And and I agree. The attention to detail in terms of the locales, the sets, the costuming across the board. And I'm glad you talked about like the camera work of this is unreal.
If cinematography involves just that,
yes,
how that wasn't up for an Oscar is like astonishing to me. Maybe you're supposed to have beautiful shots and stuff, but a cinematographer has to pick out the cameras.
Like, what would
right?
it really be like?
Oh my god!
To capture this one person's life and every aspect of it,
Yeah,
it would have to be these tiny cameras and everything. So I agree. Yeah,
which didn't really exist back then too.
No.
So they're also
we're not GoPros,
right.
Yes,
they're throwing over, I presumably, an actual camera. These like lenses that make it look like it would be a button cam.
Yes.
That doesn't exist at the time, only in theory.
Yes.
Oh man.
So I it's good to talk about that. I think from an entry standpoint of the attention to detail in terms of the control they clearly wanted to establish in this world for Truman, because and what was always weird, but seeing it again through the critical lens, is it's like a Stepford Wives type of atmosphere. Like it kind of creates this stifling and claustrophobic aspect to it, where you can watch it as a, if you were in this world watching the show, and it can be different enough where you can feel like, oh, this would be idyllic. And then you can connect with Truman. And then I always loved how it's the tiny pieces that come together that slowly unravel. And I always love stories like that, where it's all this control put together, thinking Jurassic Park, all the details, we control it, and it's just going to slowly come apart.
Yeah.
So yeah, one final thing I said before about whatever your thoughts are. I agree. The control piece is one thing, but you mentioned it, the advertisements, that the product placements that they've put into this, again, they don't ever call it out. And there's like, we're doing ads. It's just like, you can see it. You get it as an audience member of the movie. This would be a revenue generating element. And it's just genius how they're adding it in every different way.
Yeah, and I suppose my first point definitely is very all-encompassing in a lot of those ways. But to me, those are all attention to detail factors that tie into, yes, the control. As I was probably for the first time in rewatching this, probably because of the control factor too, but when you really dig deep, this movie is horrifying.
We'll talk about it.
It's horrifying.
Yes.
Like, all of these people involved for 30-ish years and more in planning or whatever, building this whole thing or whatever, are so willing to take advantage of a, quote, unwanted baby.
Yes.
Or unwanted pregnancy, I can't remember exactly. But that they have sold themselves on the idea that Truman is somehow happier in their controlled world than to be able to decide for himself who to fall for or where to live. Not to mention the very large majority that seem to idolize him from afar and center their lives around his perfect existence. Yet it seems so plausible now.
Yeah.
It is horrifying to think we are not that far away looking at you, Jury Duty, and I really enjoy Jury Duty, but seriously, we are not that far away from this being a real, honest-to-God possibility. It is horrifying.
Yes. I was struck by that, and I wrote that down. Especially the idea that the control they want to exact upon a curious child.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a limited environment would necessitate that they kill the dad.
Yeah.
And it's like, in a way that not just, he dies, but it's more of like, no, the act is a result of Truman's curiosity to go out on the boat. And that boating experience, i.e., I caused the death of my father, not just they died, is horrible.
Yeah.
And that, I agree. I wrote down that. Who are these actors that willingly signed up for this?
Or Marlon is a child actor.
Exactly.
They've been friends since 7.
Yes.
So Marlon is not necessarily the good guy here, but the kid,
yes,
he signs up for this and they become best friends. But they're not friends.
But they're not.
But are they?
That's what amazes.
Like Stockholm Syndrome? I don't know. Like what?
It amazes me about this movie is the layers as you unpack it. It is a horror movie.
Yeah.
It truly is.
It's one step away from an actual horror movie. Yeah.
Where you go, they were controlling this person through all these different details and creating trauma to limit their curiosity and their exposure to elements that were outside their control, that they would have, limited impact with. I agree. I haven't seen it in a while, and I know I have not watched it with a critical lens since having kids. And that idea of watching it be like, those MFers destroyed this child by having the parent killed off, to then his mom is there. She's a monster.
Yeah.
She is a straight up monster. Anyway, I love this movie so much because of the layers, but that aspect of these people involved in the control of this individual are so horrible. And yet they're portrayed in this one, it's
perfect.
Yes. So great, idyllic and wonderful. So I agree. I'm glad you talked about that because it is horrifying. If you really, truly think about this, what it would take to control that. And I don't think it's too far off in terms of what could be out there. I haven't seen Jury Duty or other ones like you talk about the shows, but it's so gross if you really think about how these actors signed up for this torture experiment.
Yes. It's
advertised, shown 24 hours a day, nonstop. It's just disgusting.
Yep.
And yet compelling, but which I think, sorry.
No, go ahead.
As we're kind of processing real time.
Yep.
Which I think makes Truman so much more amazing as a character.
Yep.
Juxtaposed to the control that's put upon him and having no idea that the world is built for him.
Yeah.
As things start to unravel, it makes that hero journey so much more compelling.
Yeah.
In my view.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've been waxing poetic. I can take a break. I got to drink my beer.
You talked a little bit about it, but for me, like there is a fundamental irony or this sort of counter belief in this film. We just touched on it of that sort of the best, this sort of like feeling of, oh, this nostalgia, these people are good, they're great, but in reality, they're actually monsters. But even beyond that, what we know now with reality TV does sort of bleed into this
a bit.
But so there is this sort of fundamental irony, or the sort of the counter whatever, that normalcy and calm is what the people want. They like the fans apparently want him to be docile and just like going through his life. So for 30 years, they've been sitting here watching him just live a boring, normal life.
Yes.
So that sort of is this weird, to me, now opposite of what reality TV is, which is fake.
Yes.
Stage drama, whatever it is. Everything reality TV now is more drama, the better.
Yes.
And yet, so again, I feel like we're getting closer and closer to the flip back to maybe we want to start watching just somebody live a normal life. Like, there's video games about this. You live in these open world video games or whatever it is. Like, so there's all it is they're not ironies, but there's this like,
oh, it is.
But yeah, this it's layered with all of them, like of what we talked about already. But to me, I'm just like, what we know, how did this show last so long with these, like, which means, I will say, which probably means the outside world is pretty shitty if what they desire is watching him
it could be
garden,
like
like The Sims without drowning them in the pool like everyone does. Like, it, so that to me is, it's the world. They want that quaint I Love Lucy style of whatever, or that old school like Pleasantville stuff. But it is just, that it's so weird to me now. At the time, it kind of made sense.
Yes.
Because everything was nostalgia. We talk about Pleasantville, we talk about these things, but now it's so backwards of our thinking of what reality TV is that it's like, I can't.
Well, you think about around this time, the Real World was exploding on MTV.
Yeah, mid-90s, yeah.
And you think about, I think it's true, actually, the irony is of all these shows, reality is boring AF.
Yeah.
Like if you truly were to sit down and just film,
you dumb listeners are listening to us make a podcast.
Yes. Thank you.
This is interesting. Oh,
Yes.
by the way, thank you and,
appreciate
and support us.
But
Yeah,
the reality
that's
is, like, if you just were sitting around living your life and it was filmed unbeknownst to you, it would be so boring.
Yep.
So boring. And that's what I think is another layer of the social commentary of this movie, where they would not be that compelling. So they have to add in elements of intrigue, or the control is well and good. But once that, nature versus nurture type of aspect kicks in, they're going to have to grapple, like, from the creators of the show, grapple with the fact of, like, they can't control very much. But if they tried to, reality TV is not real. It's boring. It's not interesting. And so that is what's interesting, seeing a movie like this compared to as things changed throughout the 2000s and the last 25 years, where you're right. Maybe there is like a return of sorts to like an authenticity where we can create crazy things around people, but maybe their honest reaction to things is what's interesting versus fake and stupid. And yet that's never going to go away. Like the Kardashians and all the other reality, like it's never going to go away, unfortunately. Yeah. But it's so
like rust on my car. It's there forever.
It's always going to seep in. But I agree. The great commentary of this type of movie is that Truman's life truly would be boring.
Yeah.
Absolutely boring. Just watch a normal dude. Yeah, you're right. It's not super rich because it's compelling. It's not poor, so there's some aspect of like punching down to watch. It's just a normal dude living an insurance life with his wife. Man, I don't know why you'd ever watch that. But at the time, maybe nothing else exists like that where you could control stuff. But I agree. It's a strong irony for that. To that point, what I'll offer is I always loved this movie where they add in the outside world watching it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It'd be well and good if it was just us as an audience experiencing it to see. That wouldn't have any commentary. Maybe we could maybe get that to that point. But I always valued what they chose to do with the world within the world. Of the bars that exist to people watching it, or audience just passionate to it, to also then you would have someone like the character Sylvia, who is an advocate in the society as it is, trying to ingratiate herself in to break this guy out of it.
Yeah.
And that to me is always what makes this different, where it's not just we get to watch it as an audience. Remember, it's a true, like, multiple layers, and that outside world watching it and commenting on it as we're watching it too. Just crazy layers. Kudos to Andrew Nichols for the writing. Just so good. But I love that comment of the world the world within the world of the world of Truman Show. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe too many worlds.
Andrew Nichols.
Yes.
The I like, this is not even a point, just coming off what you talked about. Sylvia, I don't think Sylvia, like, she became an advocate only because she connected with Truman. She wasn't there to connect. I did not get the sense that she was there to sabotage. I think she was there. No, initially, I think she was there to, like, as an actress or whatever. There's an extra. And then they connect. And she's like, I'm not, because even in the library was the perfect moment. If she was trying to actually, like, free him, the library was the perfect moment.
Yeah.
She was sitting there. Like, she could have literally just said, dude, you know, here it is, or whatever. But I feel like she's like, I'm not supposed to talk to you. I'm not supposed to do this. Like, I'm not supposed to do this. Like,
if we don't go now, it won't happen.
Right. And it was like, I never quite noticed some of the, like, I kind of always assumed she was like the guy parachuting in and the guy in the, you know, but in reality, and I think that's why she is so important, and that's why that connection was so important. Like, the two of them had the real honest connection that the producers did not embrace. They wanted we've got focus groups who say that you know, this, like, Laura Linney's character would be here, and and like not even to just like let him decide. It was literally, here's what it is, and then let's get her out of here. So, I think that's why she is so interesting, and that's why she became an advocate, and that's why. And so I think there's even another layer to this for me that I was like, I don't think I noticed this before.
I don't think so either.
Like their connection is what started in, if you look at her interactions with him after their initial sort of making eye contact or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. And actually it's like, that would have been a perfect meet cute.
Yes.
And they totally and like, it just, yeah. So Sylvia to me has much more weight now than probably 20 years ago when I first watched her, 25 years ago when I first watched it for sure.
I agree.
Because she's literally, and she runs out to go see him. Like and believe at the end that the two of them still love each other in some way, even though it's been 8 years or whatever.
Yes.
That they still have feelings for each other because she's like had that connection with him.
And I love what they do with the movie where, you know, you think about the cameras on Truman.
Yeah.
And they don't tell the story in a linear fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So as he's acting kind of strange, you start to realize, oh, well, years prior to this, he would have been given these kind of odd signs and Sylvia and other things. So then when he's trying to hide the pictures of women and the collages that he's making to try and recapture what would have been in his mind, Sylvia's image. Thinking he's hiding it, but clearly not doing a good enough job.
Well, he doesn't know. Yeah. He's hiding it from his wife.
Yes.
At that time, he's hiding it from people in his life.
At work,
not
he's
the
like
cameras.
coughing, like, oh, I'm like.
But he's not hiding it from the cameras because he doesn't know about them.
But I think there's some element of him starting to creep in of like, this is not, like, something's off with my existence.
Yeah.
Where I love when he and, is it Merle or whatever his wife's name is, Marge, or I forget her name is.
Yeah, I don't know, Meryl. It's not Marge.
Oh,
for sure,
Meryl. Yeah, I think Meryl. That they have like, he comes to her first, thinking like something's going on, and her again, Stepford Wives, like so good. Laura Linney, kudos to her.
She's great in this.
So good.
Yeah. Yep.
But then when he kind of not attacks her, but like is frustrated with like the paring knife or whatever. Yeah.
What are you gonna do, Meryl?
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Yeah. And she's like, yeah.
Dice me?
Yeah. That he realizes like something is going wrong with my life.
Yeah.
And all these pieces come to a head where then clearly he's like, I got to do something about this.
Yeah.
Which I loved, that buildup of slowly his world is unraveling and him like clapping at different things, like, which is weird to think like if it's kind of narcissistic in some ways to feel like the world is for me. We're the hero of our own story.
Yeah.
But truly he is.
But then to be, to be proven right.
Yes. As he goes crazy.
Yeah.
And again, great commentary of, it would be crazy to think about my world is unraveling because the radio signal comes in where I have control over these variables and then the elevator shaft isn't there. And the people you trust the most are like, oh no, everything's fine, honey. Again, freaking horror movie. It's so great. But I like the thing you talk about with Sylvia, where I didn't quite put it together of it would have been a organic connection that then would have blossomed into the advocacy as opposed to coming on as an advocate to then break out type of thing.
Yeah, you think
I like
8 years on that she would have been like, okay. And she probably would have only stayed that long if she had a real connection with them.
Yes.
I only have a couple more things. So
me too. The Christoph.
Ed Harris
character.
I was also going to talk about Ed Harris.
Yeah, let's talk about him.
Yeah.
Again, the movie does a great job of creating the world, and then maybe like an hour in.
Yeah, we start with Christoph. It's the first thing we see, and then
he's not there again.
That I presume is their starter or their like credit scene or whatever. And he's not in for halfway through the movie at least.
And then when he comes back in, and you can see like the ego and the caring, oddly enough.
Oh, there's no doubt that he loves Truman for the wrong reasons, but yes. Yep.
And kudos to Ed Harris.
Oh my God.
Who's so good in that role.
Yep.
That it is maddening to watch this guy control these variables. But I don't think this movie works without showing the maker.
No.
And the control aspect of it and behind what really puts together this world. So yeah, I love that they add in the Christoph aspect. Christ is the
exactly. Christ of
yes.
Anyway. Yeah, Ed Harris is effortless as Christoph and so believable that you almost can bring yourself to root for him to keep Truman there. You actually can kind of be like, yeah, he's not a villain, but he is a villain.
Yeah.
But he is coming at it from a selfish love standpoint for sure. But yeah, he's such an incredible actor. It is a crime that he does not have an Oscar to his name.
It's just a shame.
You want to talk about we don't believe in Oscars and that kind of stuff in some ways, but we always talk about it. But this movie and Apollo 13 to me, I'm like, what?
Yes.
What?
It's insane.
And I always look at so James Coburn won for Affliction this particular year, which he was good in it. But this same year, Judi Dench won for 8 minutes of a film, and Ed Harris is in this film. Not a ton, but he's definitely in it plenty. But he is so good.
Yes,
as Christoph. Yeah, it's awesome. Well, our last point, I assume, is the same.
Well, we'll come to that. Yes.
Okay.
But yes.
You got one more?
Well, I was gonna say really quick. I still use the line that Christoph says, where we accept the reality with which we're presented. In everyday life, and I always remember it came from this movie, of the idea that if you can control enough variables, you can you will just accept the reality with which you're presented. So I love the writing. I love how he delivers it.
The writing is so good,
and it's so incredible.
It was original. It wasn't based on a book.
No,
I was like, oh my God,
the idea with it. So one thing I'll say before we talk about Jim Carrey, I love the final sequence when it gets done and he escapes. The most biting social commentary I find is these hardcore, passionate viewers of this guy's life instantly move on.
Yeah.
Oh, what's next?
Yeah.
Let's change the channel.
The TV guide?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that to me is the perfect encapsulation of our attention society of next, stimulate. That to me is the most, maybe not the most, but one of the most ahead of the time.
Yes, way ahead of time.
Commentaries.
I'm sorry, how many Bachelor? You go from the Bachelor to the Bachelorette to whatever is the next. You
TikTok,
cannot
all
go
these
beyond
that just stimulate us of inundating us with things. And that to me is the best ending of this movie, where it's just this a human being has been traumatized and has escaped his confines to seek joy in the world. And you just go, what's next?
What else?
So biting, wonderful. Okay, so let's talk about Jim Carrey.
Yeah, Jim freaking Carrey.
Jim
is what it is.
Freaking Carrey.
What else can be said about him to me? And I've said a couple times in our recordings that has not already been said, but actually a lot.
Yeah.
Since up until now in 1998, when this movie, we had seen him only in slapstick comedy roles.
Yep.
And doing amazingly well at them.
So good.
But this was just a whole new level of impressive for me that we did not see coming. Even Ebert talked about him in his review.
Yep.
Now, and also apparently that the Oscars were just not prepared for. His reactions to the world unraveling are the first 20 minutes or whatever. I know the light falling happens pretty early on, actually pretty much right away. But when his world really starts to unravel and he's really feeling paranoid about what's going on around him, you can feel it, but he still has to keep it together.
Yes.
And, oh man, his performance in this, in my opinion, with one exception that we'll cover next year in Eternal Sunshine, is his best. I mean, I love Man on the Moon and I love some of his other stuff, but just he is very subtle in a lot of his reactions to things and his looking around, and he's just like in shock of what he's doing.
Yes.
And he's totally believable. Yeah. We talked about him, Bruce Almighty, this year. It's weird that they're 5 years apart, but
Sure.
such a special actor in his ability.
Yep.
And this is a perfect example of it. Oh my God.
I always loved when he's doing kind of the spaceman thing in the mirror.
Yeah. Yep.
And then he wipes it clean and looks at as he knows something is there. I can't find the camera, and just says, that one's for free.
That one's for free.
And I love that like foreboding sense of, oh, he knows what's up. He knows like, I'm now acting for the cameras, but I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And how he tries to escape and then does. And I lamented in the previous podcast with Saving Private Ryan. I just think it's absurd that Roberto Benigni was nominated. Again, I'm biased. He shouldn't have won. Shouldn't have been nominated. Life is Beautiful is a joke of a movie. It's terrible. You would not act that way in the Holocaust, but whatever. Diminish the experience. Fine, whatever.
Wouldn't.
You just it's insane. But the fact that he was nominated over Jim Carrey is insane to me, because this was that next level of a character actor who is incredible in what he does, but then delivers in every aspect, where you could see why Sylvia would be attracted to him, why probably the world would find him compelling, because he's interesting, he's charismatic. But then when the world truly breaks down for him and he has to, kind of have his hero moment, as Christoph says, and then when the boat hits the wall, and it's like, oh my God, this is all truly contained, has to break down. But then recompose himself of, I've won. I get to leave. I found the door. I'm out of here. And has his final moment and then leaves. It's just, he's so good. So good. And Jim Carrey was surprised at how good he was with this.
Yeah, especially back then.
Yes.
We
take it for granted. Yep.
I have a couple small quibbles real quick.
Sure.
First of all, when they're out on the highway that goes to nowhere and they're hitting golf balls.
Yeah.
They're hitting golf balls into the town.
Yeah.
Not out into the ocean.
I know.
Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
You're hitting it into the town.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yes.
What?
What are they doing?
Also, I guess I have to admit that I guess I'm also a monster for thinking this stuff. They had zero contingencies.
Yeah.
Zero for him ever leaving or dying in an accident or whatever. Like, there's no backup babies to start a new. You got the thing. You got the whole thing. You literally can just have another baby. Be like, Truman's out. Insert new baby here, and 2 weeks on, because that's what they would do now.
Yes.
We just talked about it with Bachelor this, Bachelor that, and 3 different Kardashian series, and Real Housewives of every major city of 20,000 people or above. Like, zero.
They replaced the aunt on Fresh Prince, and no one better than I. Like,
except Ted Lasso.
The actresses, like, what? Anyways, yes, yeah.
He loved it.
I agree. They didn't think about like this.
Yeah.
And again, the nature versus nurture. How much can we control, and what's going to come into play for this character?
Right. But nobody thought like here's the other thing. Like, you have this giant ocean studio or whatever. The other side, he wants to go to Fiji so damn bad.
Yep.
Build Fiji on the other side of the ocean that you got here.
Yep.
He can't travel without, just drug him to travel somehow. Get his ass to Fiji. And also, any vacation destination, they have only enough money, so they go one a year.
Yeah.
You could literally build it on the other side of that ocean.
Yes.
And he could just travel to the same place over and over again.
It is a quibble as far as like, what information would you allow to exist?
If I were a terrible human being and we're running this, how would I do it? And I've sat there thinking, like, you guys suck at this.
Yes.
How was it 30-ish years or whatever?
It makes me think of The Village, the movie.
Next year.
And how much I now more appreciate the controls put in by the... Yeah, you limit the information.
Unbelievable.
Available. But I agree.
They have every opportunity.
Don't give them a freaking globe or a planet.
Yeah. You could literally, you had control of this.
Yes.
You didn't even need to talk about the rest of the world.
No.
You literally could have created a world that was just
Yes.
this.
This is our world.
There is no globe. There is no, like, it's just this. This is our existence.
But I wonder if there would be a problem, like, as we talked, like, if the audience would, like, revolt from that.
Of course they would have.
Of thinking, what? You can't, like, lie that much to the kid.
Exactly. Yes, of
So,
course.
but there's challenges. Where's that control lie?
So with our reactions out of the way, that leads us into our next segment that we call The Verdict.
I'm going up there. I'm going to try it. I'm going to let the jury decide.
This is pretty much exactly how it sounds. Each of us takes a minute to put a cap on our reviews, give a rating, and whether or not the film holds up 2 decades later. Go ahead, Tim.
A film ahead of its time and dripping with biting social commentary at every turn, The Truman Show features a moving performance by Jim Carrey, which balances his humor well with surprising depth. The movie shows that human nature can rebel against controlled nurture, and that who we are is more than what others may seek to prescribe for us. Just absolutely love this film, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. And you think what's transpired the 25 years since? Amazing. 4.5 out of 5 for me. So good. What say you?
The older I get, the more impressed I am with The Truman Show. Not only in its semi/mostly prophetic view of our reality TV-obsessed culture, but also toying with ideas surrounding a stereotypical perfect lifestyle, materialism, and capitalization on human life, with some amazing dramatic work from Carrey and top-of-their-game performances from Harris, Linney, and Emmerich, by the way. The Truman Show gets more and more relevant with each passing year. A few minor funny quibbles aside, that are more of, again, fun than actual quibbles, and you have what has become a modern classic, in my opinion. 4.75 out of 5 stars, almost perfect, holds up, and then some.
Yep.
See it again, if you haven't seen it.
So good.
We come now to our final segment, which is Quiz Show.
The exciting quiz program, 21.
Where we search for trivia surrounding our subject film and try to stump the other. I have a few, actually. What do you got?
I got a couple.
Ooh, I have 4, if I use them all.
I have 3.
I don't know. Yeah. Oh, I'll go first then again.
Sounds good.
Excuse me. All right. So on the arches... So when Truman leaves town, they got the arches or whatever behind him, or like, and the dog running around. On the arches of Sea Haven, we see a Latin phrase etched into the stone.
I was thinking I should look it up.
The Latin phrase, unus pro omnibus, omnis pro uno, is on there. This is a very common phrase, and actually the motto of Switzerland, by the way. Can you name the translation?
I should have looked it up.
I'll give you a super easy hint. But yeah.
It's like one of many of one. I don't know.
It is kind of like that. It's also a key part of the Three Musketeers.
Oh, one for all and all for one?
Correct. Yeah. That's what that is.
Okay.
There you go.
That's a good one.
Yep.
Nice. I know. I was like,
attention to detail.
What is that phrase?
By the way, before we even go down this path, I'm just going to mention it now. Sea Haven is also Seaside, Florida. I don't know if you know this.
I didn't know where they filmed it, but I can see that. Yeah.
So Seaside, Florida was this planned community that was sort of this perfect community that they had, and so they ended up filming there.
Yeah.
Personal note, our parents are going to Florida in the Panhandle. It's literally 20 minutes away. And they have like the Truman, like that's the house. Like,
oh, sure. Yeah.
It's literally 20 minutes from where they're going in Destin, Florida. And I'm like, I kind of want to go now just so I can take that car and head over to Seaside,
do the
Florida.
Roundabout. Check it out.
Anyway,
that's good.
What do you got?
Truman Show is the only screenplay that Andrew Niccol has not directed himself of his own screenplays. And that, but he had his screenplay and directorial debut in 1997 sci-fi drama.
Is that Gattaca?
It was.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So good.
Great movie.
Gattaca is incredible.
Yeah. That's the weird backwards walking people that I'm always like, okay. This is weird to me.
But
yeah. Yep.
It's so, again, another film about ahead of its time with like genetic sequencing and man. Yeah, Mike, that's a 1-2 punch of his screenplays were Gattaca, then Truman Show. Well done,
yeah, man.
That's good.
Okay. I got some fun ones here.
All right.
So Noah Emmerich, who plays Truman's lifelong best friend, spare a thought for that child actor. Marlon has had actually a nice career over the last 30 years, including television roles in The Americans, White Collar, Billions, and film roles in Miracle and Frequency. Love it. To name a few. Yet he seemingly has not aged a day in the last 25 years. He looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
So Tim, who is older, Jim Carrey or Noah Emmerich?
Jim Carrey.
Correct.
Yes.
Carrey is 61 and Emmerich is 58.
Ooh.
But Emmerich looks almost the same now as he did 25 years ago.
Does. You know, Paul Rudd gets a lot of credit for like looking the same.
Well, that's because he looks young.
Yes.
Now, Emmerich has
always looked
50
old
for the last 25 years.
He totally has. Oh, that's very good. That's a good trivia. I like that.
There you go.
So before being given an honorary Academy Award just last year in 2022, director Peter Weir was nominated for 6 Oscars, one of which was Truman Show for director, before unofficially kind of retiring in the early 2010s. Aside from The Truman Show, can you name the other 4 films for which he received nominations?
For Best Director?
Not necessarily.
Oh, sorry. Just general
but
nominations.
the films that were nominated for his
Dead Poets
work.
Society?
Yep. For director.
Master and Commander?
We will watch this year, yes.
Yeah,
for director
this year.
and picture. 2 more.
Gallipoli?
No.
Okay.
Not for his work. Yeah.
Peter Weir. Witness?
Yes, for best director. Nice.
I'm missing one.
I'll give you its screenplay.
Okay. I'm sure I've seen it, but now I gotta think back on his...
That's good. You're doing well. Nice.
4 out of 5, right? Or,
yes.
Well,
yeah, well, 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4, that's right, because we have
Yes.
Truman Show. Oh, man. What do you got?
Green Card.
Oh,
For
the
screenplay.
stupid
I know.
Card.
Stupid movie.
But that was when they didn't they do... No, that was
No, it
original.
was still original.
There's still
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
Okay. Gerard Depardieu.
Depardieu. Yeah, exactly. But
I'll take a win
absolutely.
on that for
Yeah.
not thinking of the film Green
Absolutely.
Card in my life.
yes,
since
you
then.
did great. But think about that with Dead. I always think about that with Dead Poets, what he did with Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And then did this with Jim Carrey. Like,
Yep.
of all the directors that could harness the manic energy of those
Sure.
2 actors into an
Oh,
incredible
and he
performance.
did the same thing with Russell Crowe. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, super manic. Yeah,
Manic.
exactly. Yeah, and Harrison Ford. Yikes. Anyway,
well, yeah, I mean, Witness is actually a good movie.
Yeah.
All right. That's your last one?
I got one more.
You got one more. What am I missing? Oh, okay. Okay, I got a really fun one because it's going to require you to do math. But,
Okay.
well, I'll wait till last.
I'll get my abacus
So,
out.
Penn Pavel's beer, a.k.a. the basic beer that we both modeled the lager after,
Yes.
is actually used in many TV shows and movies as a stand-in for an ice cold brew. Is this yours?
No, I
Love
don't
it.
have that. I just have no idea.
So it's a standard. I'll give you a bit of a hint.
Okay.
It's just a generic beer,
Sure.
right? As an ice cold
It's like
brewski,
555 area code.
Right.
Sure.
including Modern Family, Chicago Fire, and Donnie Darko, to name a few.
Wow.
It was also briefly featured as a beer on screen for what mega blockbuster superhero trilogy finale in 2012?
Oh my God. Superhero trilogy
Finale in
Finale.
2012. That should be your dead giveaway right there.
Dead giveaway
For you, it will be when you hear the
Oh,
answer.
The Dark Knight Rises.
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
It's on screen very briefly, but it's Penn's Pavel beer.
Oh
It's
my
just the
God.
can off to the side.
That's so great. Oh my God. That's really good. That's the freaking beer everywhere. Oh my God, I love it. So jokingly, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a joke is it that Ed Harris hasn't have an Oscar win? But that being said, while he started
$1 billion?
exactly,
Like, yeah.
it's insane. While he started his career with lots of television work, arguably his big screen debut came in 1983 Best Picture nominated epic space drama.
The Right Stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's John
I always
Glenn-
forget
that's
it's
John Glenn.
83.
Right?
I always think it's later in the
Late
80s.
80s. No,
but
83. Like 3 hours and 20 minutes or
I
whatever.
love that movie,
I've
but it
never
is
seen
a slow burn of a
I've
movie.
never seen it.
I have it on DVD.
I need to check it out. Yeah.
I have it on DVD. I can just loan it
Yeah.
to you and a DVD player to
I think
watch
he
it
was
on.
in Right Stuff, Apollo 13, A Voice in Gravity.
Apollo
loves
13
himself
is so
some-
good.
But yeah, Ed Harris. God, so good.
Apollo 13. Okay, math time. Tim,
Okay.
how old is Truman?
How old is he?
Yeah, how old is he? There
There
are hints throughout the movie.
28.
Okay. Because at one point the announcer says, The Truman Show, now in its 30th great year.
Uh-huh.
So you would assume he's 30.
Yeah.
But you go, oh, if it's the 30th year.
Well, they had the camera in the womb.
But yeah, 30th year. If you're in your 30th year, aren't you 29? Because if I'm in my first year.
Yes, you are.
If I'm in my first year of
The first
existence,
year.
I'm 0 to 1.
Yeah.
So I went with 29 as the answer to this because the very first day that we see was day 10,909.
I was thinking, like,
Come on, man. You should have done some math.
Curses.
Which,
Latin
again,
math.
day 10,909, which would make Truman 29.89 years old. Factoring in some leap year in there, he's effectively about a month away from his 30th birthday.
That's crazy.
And they're planning his birthday in the movie. So they are planning his 30th birthday.
30th birthday.
Go blimey. Nerd alert!
That's good. Dang it. I did not think about math.
Well, that brings us to the end of
Love
our
it.
happy hour episode on The Truman Show. If you haven't already, please go back and listen to our previous episodes, all featured on your favorite streaming platform. And stay tuned for our upcoming episodes on Open Range and Kill Bill Volume 1. We want to say thank you for taking the time to listen and for clicking that like or subscribe button on your devices. If you are so inclined, please click the support link in the show's description or on all of our sites and consider supporting us in other ways. We are on the metaverse of Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, and head to 20years4beers.com, newly updated with a bunch of information.
Thank you.
This has been 20 Years 4 Beers. My name is Steve.
I'm Tim.
And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
To go to the land of the sky blue waters. I am the life man.
No.
You-
It is a horror movie. Did not think about math.